Hello and welcome back to the Aqua Pod. I'm your host Charlie, and today I'm joined by Rory Dickson, a University of Stirling breaststroker and Scottish national senior team swimmer. This year, Rory made his first GB team, earning a European Under-23 medal in the process. In this episode, we talk to Rory about overcoming challenges and settling in at a big programme like Stirling after age group club swimming. We speak about that European medal and the special story surrounding it. And we touch on Glasgow 2026 and the memories that Rory has of watching the last Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2014. We hope you enjoy the chat and let's get on with the show. I'm delighted to have Rory Dickson on the podcast today, a member of the Scottish national senior swimming team, Scottish record holder, and now a European Under-23 medalist as well, Rory. How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. Doing well. Just sort of 7 to 8 weeks been back in the pool, I think it is at the now. Been a brutal sort of little stint of training, but sort of just starting to feel like a human being again. They had us doing all sorts of stuff like 2 spin sessions a week and just sort of really focusing on the land training and getting us fit again. But I'm happy it's paid off. Feeling good again. Yeah, looking forward to what's to come in the short course. How are you?
No, good. Thanks. I think, like you, it's been quite a busy summer, and I know we're well into autumn now, but it does take a wee bit of time and to kind of get back into the swing of things after you've had such a busy period. I guess for you, is it always as long as that it takes, or has this year been a kind of particularly busy summer and taking quite a bit out of you?
No, I'm always one that kind of takes a while. I mean, we're surrounded by pretty good swimmers at Stirling, but they seem to just get in a couple of weeks there back to normal again. But I've always been one that takes a wee bit longer to get back to it after summer. Don't know, I think we're just all a wee bit different, and that's fine because we've got plenty of time this time of year, and there's also a wee bit more time for socialising outside of the pool and stuff like that. So although it's been hard, it has been a really sort of enjoyable sort of return back into the pool. But no, I had a good summer and everything like that, so everything's going well. Can't complain.
I guess I'm not a professional athlete, but from the outside looking in, this sort of time of year for swimmers especially, it always seems like it does take a bit of time to get going, and the short course season does lend itself to that a little bit as well. With I guess less competitions, you do compete, but it tends to be more closer to December time and November as well. How has it been in terms of getting back into the pool, and how do you enjoy the short course season as well? Is it something that you kind of look forward to each year?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the short course season. I think some of the best competitions I've had have came at that sort of that competition in Edinburgh. It's a really enjoyable meet for me. And just sort of going back to your question, I think that the whole period of like August to December is really good. I don't think there's less pressure, but well, maybe I do think that in a way. There's just like you said, there's less competitions. A lot of the competitions in racing we do is in house, so we have like 2 or 3 legs of essentially University of Stirling Club Championships, and that's how we get a lot of our racing and sort of hit outs as they call them in season. And I think they can provide a lot of solid detail as to where you're at, and obviously you're doing it with people you train with every day. It is good fun, and it's something a wee bit different than just maybe doing a hard session or something like that. You can sort of get together and put the suits on, and yeah, it's really enjoyable. So no, for me, I really enjoy this time of year. I think it's a nice sort of period as well. For me, especially last year, I feel like it was coming off in the new year. It was like trials, then 7 or 8 weeks under 23s, 4 weeks into British. So that's kind of contrasted it quite a lot in the sense that I've got, I don't know how long it is. So I came back in end of August. You've got to the middle of December, so you get loads and loads of time just to sort of figure out your stroke, fine tune things, and yeah, I think that the pace it runs at is quite enjoyable for me. So yeah, I've never got a problem with short course. I know some people absolutely despise it, but no, good fun for me this time of year.
Yeah, I guess it is just that kind of yeah, it's a totally different feel to the long course season where you get past Christmas and New Year and it's like a competition every 3 or 4 weeks and then into trials and then you're obviously into your summer meets. So it is that different and it's quite a a nice feeling, I guess, for you guys to have less pressure, I guess, like you said, on yourself. I think what we'll do is we'll go into some of your time at Stirling, and you mentioned the under-23s and things a little bit later on, but I'd like to maybe take you back to the start a little bit. I don't know if you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, your journey into the sport, and kind of where it all started for you as well.
Yeah, journey into the sport. Good question. I mean, I can't remember right back to the very start, but I know I started at North Ayrshire, North Ayrshire Swimming Club around 2008, 2009. Sort of went in there. I was there till 2019, and I don't think until I was maybe 12 to 13 when it started getting really competitive. Started like, for example, everyone will be familiar with this journey, but like you make your first Scottish national age groups. Sort of second time I went, I picked up a couple of medals. Never gold, unfortunately, but maybe that was a good thing. You never know. So yeah, sort of make those competitions as I was going through my time at North Ayrshire. I was never really a breaststroker in that period. I was more like I would kind of dip in everything, to be honest, maybe except like individual flying back events. But breast and free were always kind of in the locker. I think sort of coaches were just of the believing that I was a little bit too young to specialise, and I think that's a philosophy that a lot of age group coaches take on now. But no, I was really lucky at that club to be coached by a variety of coaches. I was coached by Sharon McIntyre in my sort of earlier time at North Ayrshire, Ross Paul Douglas, sort of middle 2 years, and then my old man Alan as well. He was coaching me sort of towards the end. But that was quite useful to me in that I saw a lot of styles and a lot of different ways of coaching. Sort of prepared me well for coming up to Stirling, sort of not knowing what I was going to get. But yeah, I think that was 2008 or 2009, like I said, through to 2019. So about a decade I was there, and then went to University of Stirling, high performance, HB2 I went in, so coached under Josh Williamson. That was September 2019. Went into that squad, as Josh never fails to remind me, with about 701 FINA points, I think it was, for my 400 IM. So sort of really changed the what type of swimmer I am, and the fact that I used to swim 400 IM, 200 IM, and I'm now sort of a sprint breaststroker. But like I think that links back to not specialising too young and having a few doors open. But yeah, so 2019 started at Stirling, HB2. I think it's completely different coming to university and training. I think you've got so much more time, especially, I mean, I was on campus for my first year, and it's like a 5 minute walk down to the pool. You got lectures and stuff like that, but there's no like drive to training. You got like 7 or 8 hours of school during the day. You maybe got 2-3 hours of lectures max, and these can be done online at Stirling. There's loads of advantages for student athletes, and that sort of played into my hands quite a lot because sort of I never had that focus when I was at school and when I was at North Ayrshire, but I think sort of taking advantage of the knowledge and the equipment and stuff like that that's at Stirling. Like you got some of the best coaches in the world there. You still do. It's turned into like such a like fantastic centre. Sort of surrounded myself with amazing athletes, and saw what could be done. And I think just went there with the sort of mindset of you need to take advantage of your surroundings and just go to every session with the goal of getting a wee bit better. And I think I sat down with Josh at the start of that sort of stint at 2019. And I was like, I don't like I've seen what people can do. I've seen like the potential and what you guys can turn swimmers into. I don't really want to be like a shut almost. I don't want to be someone that might can sometimes make just float through the motions and turn up and then sort of fade away. Like I was really wanted to make a good impact. Unfortunately, when COVID came, that was stopped for about a year because there was sort of guidelines in place that if you didn't have over 750 FINA points, I think the barrier was, then you weren't, or you were deemed not good enough to be in the pool, and that pool time was taken away from you, and unfortunately, you had to just spend a bit of time out the pool. So I think I was out of the pool for about a year. I think it added up to in the end. I didn't obviously have 750 FINA points. I think I had like 738 or something like that. So that interrupted things a wee bit, but I sort of came back in, and and anything after that was a bonus, to be honest. Charlie sort of just came back in. I was like, I know what it feels like to have swimming taken away from me now, and I just want to go and enjoy every session. And I think I've done a really good job of that since COVID, sort of coming back in 3-4 years ago, and just sort of came on leaps and bounds since there. To be honest, that's probably where, like I said, most of the improvements in my career have come from. And then that kind of takes me on to being moved into HB1 just at the end of the 2023 season. 2024 September, sort of this time last year, I was moved into the top squad, getting coached by Brad. Brad and Steve at the start, but that's obviously now Brad and Ben. Like I said, that's just a fantastic environment to be around, and you can see the sort of names that that's attracting now is sort of, it's not even just a good program in Scotland anymore. It's like, if not one of the best sort of programs in the world, to be honest. And it's an absolute privilege to train with those guys every day. But yeah, that's what it takes me sort of to where we are today.
Yeah, yeah, a bit of a whistle stop tour there, but I think there's probably quite a lot of good messaging in there from even from like the age group point of view of someone that's had relative success. Obviously, medalling at SNAGS is a great achievement, but you mentioned yourself not gold, but you went into probably one of the best programs in the UK, as you say, at Stirling, into HP2, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to be here and I want to contribute. Is there any sort of messaging to young swimmers going into that situation? Maybe some of your best advice to swimmers that maybe have had a little bit of success but want to really push on and in a place like Stirling or Edinburgh or wherever they find themselves.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit when I was sort of doing that whistle stop tour, but I think at these institutions there's so much to be learned, and I think if you go in with the mindset of, I always call it like being a sponge, you go in learning, soaking up as much as
Yeah,
you can. I think that's a really good place to start. I think don't go in as if your old program or the where you swam before was the be all and end all, and you've had a little bit of result, little bit of success there, and that's got the way it's got to be type thing. I think if you go in with the mindset of just keeping an open mind, learning as much as you can every session, there'll be things you can take away. I think that's a really good place to start. I never went to Stirling. I was like, oh, I want to make, I don't know, the Olympics in 2020 or like 2024 or
yeah,
anything like that. I was like, let's just focus on the next competition. Like, what can I do each session to get me PBs? Because if you get your PBs fast enough, then these things will come, And in the last few months, I've been absolutely delighted to have been selected for sort of under 23s. And even like when I got on my first senior team in 2022, things, I didn't go in with the sole purpose of being selected to these things, but I think just applying that good attitude and learning as much as you can, I think these things will come. And I think patience is a really good virtue when you go to these places. I know, like, there's amazing swimmers, like I said, and some people might go in, you're like, if I go to that program, I will get X, Y, and Z. But I think, also a lot of it comes from you as well. And I think just learning and trying your absolute best and giving 100% and focus on sort of one competition at a time is what worked for me. And yeah, that's sort of how I would answer that.
yeah. And obviously you've overcome quite a few barriers as well. You mentioned there obviously about COVID and sort of just missing out on having the opportunity to continue to be in the water, and it was obviously a time where a lot of people missed out on training and missed out on a lot worse than that as well. I guess what then would your advice be to a young swimmer in a situation like that? Hopefully we don't come across something as bad as that again, but maybe their own individual battles. What would your message be to them as well?
Yeah, like I hope we don't have anything like that again. So maybe if it was like out the pool with injury and stuff like that, I think there's always stuff you could be doing to. There's always stuff you can be doing outside of the pool to sort of your improve your sort of athlete level, if that makes sense. Like I called Josh, and obviously I was out of the water, but he was still my coach at that point, and we had a call every Friday or every couple of Fridays just to check in, and you still have support to land training coaches and physios and stuff like that. So what you are obviously going to get back into the pool at one point, and it might not seem like that at the time. Like there were some mornings where I was like, what's the point? We're months away from any sort of sign of getting back in, and but I think you will get back in, and what can you do at that time to make yourself a better athlete for when you get back in? And maybe that is just chilling out. Maybe that is just taking a step back and sort of preparing. Like, you're going to go back in. You know it's going to be tough. Like, maybe it is just best to sort of do less and not get really, really carried away with it. But I did a few things a week to keep me ticking over, and I stayed checked into what was going on in the program. And me and Josh had plenty of conversations to sort of keep me in the mindset that I was still in HP, because sometimes it didn't feel like it. Sounds funny to say, but
Yeah.
you're sitting at home the whole time. But those sort of check-ins helped me to get through COVID, and yeah, eventually did. And like I said, a year after I got back in the pool, I got put in the first senior team and stuff like that. Something that I'd never done as a junior. So yeah, loads of doors can open if you stay switched on in those periods of times. And I think it comes back to patience again, to be honest.
I guess, and just trusting in the process, and also in the surroundings of um, the other swimmers that are there, and your coaches as well, and understanding that you're obviously a top quality athlete, and if you stick with it, then good things are gonna happen at some point, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah, 100% agree.
You sort of touched on some of the other swimmers that are at Stirling just now, but I've been there over the years. And one that I thought might be worth us touching on and mentioning, given your sort of speciality, is Ross Murdoch. Is obviously someone that you will have learned off at Stirling, not always in the same squad as him. But what has that been like, sort of almost following in the footsteps of someone like Ross? And there's the likes of Craig Benson as well, and there's been a little bit of a gap in Scottish breaststroke that you've filled, and also Archie Goodburn has filled as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to say filled. I'm sort of those guys. I put those guys in a pretty high pedestal, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. I mean, Scotland has got a really good history of breaststrokers, and so does Britain as a whole as well. I went to Stirling as a 10600 breaststroker, and it's not something I had quite a lot of time to think about, because I didn't really know what stroke I was going to end up on when I went. But and like Ross was 2022, Ross retired, so I was in the water for 6 months until COVID when I came, and then I was out for a year, and then we were really like separated in COVID for like another 9 months when we did get back in. So I actually didn't get as much time watching Ross and Craig and stuff as I would have liked. But you can see from the times these guys put down, like, I mean, they're the fastest two guys in Scotland. It's them and sort of everyone else. And maybe more recently you do have Archie in there, obviously doing great things, and Archie's sort of been the guy to chase since those guys stepped down. But no, I think, I mean, like you said, there's pretty big boots to fill, and sort of across the years when I've been selected for bucks and things like that, it's hard not to think, like, oh, who would have been picked for this before, like Ross and Craig, like going times that I've not been able to reach yet, but getting closer. And like I said, patience and trusting the process, and you will. Like, those guys were 59, can't remember the PBs, they're both 59 breaststrokers. I've worked my way down to a minute point breaststroker, so these are, I've kind of worked my way down there. Like, it's not happened overnight, but I think the coaches that are at Stirling are the guys that coach them as well. So I can learn second hand from,
Of
what
course.
Ross and Craig did through the coaches, if that makes sense. I've still got all their data and stuff like that on the system, so I can compare that way. There's loads of stuff to be learned, and there's definitely loads of things that I won't be able to do because I'm just absolutely fantastic. But yeah, there's loads to be learned, whether it be through the coaches or when I was watching them back in the day.
You think knowing that there's almost that gap, that opportunity pushed you on a bit as well? Because I guess from a perspective of, if you're maybe not going to get that chance, suddenly there is that gap and that space that you could fill. Do you think that's helped, and it's also helped you improve and keep getting quicker and quicker as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think that I've almost, in my head, I'm like, I've kind of got to step up here because
Hmm.
I've got to go a time that's worthy of being put in the first team, or worthy of being on the relay and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I have fallen short, but again, it's just using it as fuel, isn't it?
Hmm.
And I think that sort of relates back to the bigger picture in Britain at the minute. You've got those young boys coming up who are putting down some fantastic times, and yeah, absolutely can use it as fuel when going forward. And yeah, I think I would say I use it as fuel 100%. It's good to use that sort of thing as fuel, I would say.
And that kind of takes us on to to this year when you were selected for your first ever GB squad, a senior squad, albeit it's like a bit of a strange
A wee mix,
competition,
yeah.
a bit of a mix, but it's still a senior competition, obviously, and you did that by setting a PB and going under 61 seconds for the first time at trials in April. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how you found out that you'd been selected for the European under-23s?
Yeah, I mean, me and Brad didn't really go in with the goal of making that team. It was just sort of like, again, touched on this quite a lot when I've been talking. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but just sort of making little improvements and knocking little bits off here and there has been a real theme for me in my career. And like I said, see, if you keep doing that, I think if you've got the longevity to wait that out and be patient with it, you're going to be in a pretty good spot at the end. If you're already a decent swimmer in the sort of high performance programs in Scotland, if you can take whether it be 0.2, 0.3, half a second off each time, it might not feel like a big jump, but sort of that comes into fruition when you're trying to get on these teams. And yeah, I never sort of had that as a goal, so it was definitely a surprise when I got that email through. I don't think Brad actually knew until after the competition that had been selected, but yeah, it was a great surprise, and obviously I mean, it's the sort of biggest stage I've been on, and it was an absolute honour to be selected, and it was a great time. A hard schedule, don't get me wrong. Obviously, 8 or 9 weeks after trials, that was definitely a different thing for me to get used to. Just that sort of, usually got to the end of July. It was like 23rd of June or something like that. I think we flew out on maybe.
Yeah.
Like you got to get straight back in, no time for like too much time off after trials or anything like that. So yeah, I think there's so much learning to be taken from it, and yeah, that was something I was really honoured by, and it was good. Sort of, I had my girlfriend and mum and a few other family members came out to watch, and it was a really good experience. And again, there's so much things you can learn just by going out there and being a sponge and soaking everything up. Even like the people on the team with you, like there's some Olympians on that team. That team had like a really big range of sort of talent level, and yeah, I think it gelled really well, and I think we did a good job. I think we sort of missed out on gold medals, but in terms of medals won, I think we were tied top of the leaderboard, so it was a really good performance. And yeah, for my own performance, I think going there and PBing in a final like that is like
Mhm.
more than I could ever have hoped for. Do you know what I mean? And I think sort of with the sphere of British breaststroking, and with those obviously the young boys coming up, I went there with a sort of chip on my shoulder, like, right, I've got to show that sort of belong in that team and put down something that I was happy with and proud of. And I think I did that in the 50, and I like to think I contributed pretty well in the relay. But yeah, it was fantastic.
I was going to say, obviously, final in the 50 breast, and you mentioned there a personal best, and that's a great achievement. It doesn't always happen that it's at your target meet that you hit your best time, so obviously a great thing to do that. But you also won a silver medal in the 4x1 mixed relay alongside Matt Ward, Lucy Grieve, and Evie Davis. So a full Scottish team, and it was also a Scottish record as well. Quite an unusual thing to happen on a GB team. But do you want to
Absolutely.
talk us through that experience, because it's something quite rare and cool to be part of?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Scottish team's grown into be such a fantastic like beast almost. It's just like the range of talent that we've got sort of going into sort of next year especially, I think is really exciting. And I think that really just sort of was testament to that. It's also not rare that three of the swimmers from that team are from the same postcode. Me, Lucy and Evie live across the street from each other. So that was quite cool to be on a relay team with them, obviously quite close, and sort of grown to get to know Matt quite a lot over the years. So it's so good doing something like that with your pals, and it's not something a lot of people get to experience when you achieve something like that with people so close to you. Never mind it being like a Scottish record and a European silver. Absolute whiskers off the gold.
Yeah.
But no, it was really cool, and I'm super grateful for the opportunity, and the experience was amazing.
I guess overall, how did you enjoy it? Were you happy with, or are you pleased with the experience, and with it coming maybe a little bit later in your career than it has comparatively for maybe some of your other teammates that have been on European junior teams and stuff like that? Did you almost Did you feel like you had a different experience than maybe some of them?
That's a really good question. I mean, I've got to have a different experience, right? Because there were some guys there that were coming off Olympics last year, and they can't be thinking of this meet the same way I was, right? I mean, for me, I was just super excited to get selected. Like I said earlier, like I only sort of properly got back into the pool in 2022, and I remember like you know, everything after that was a bonus, and never in a million years did I think that I could actually get a GB cap and, take whatever it was, like 5.5 seconds off my 100 breast PB and make it down to
Mm-hmm.
a good enough time that makes these competitions and can contribute to never mind contribute to medals. So I had an absolutely wonderful time, and it was amazing. And I think the fact I've sort of been fighting for centre lanes my whole career, and I started off when I joined Stirling in like lane 8, lane 9, and I sort of worked my way into being, you know, close to the centre at heats and trials and close to the centre in finals has just made me appreciate sort of a competition like that even more. Like I was super grateful to go, and yeah, it was really good. I had a really good time.
I guess it's probably given you the taste for it now as well. And with the big one coming next year, obviously Glasgow 2026, the Commonwealth Games coming back to the city after 12 years. What's that like for you? Obviously, you would have been a young swimmer at the time when it was here last
Yeah,
time. What are
yeah.
your memories of that, and how special would it be to you to be involved in Team Scotland?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely paramount. I think I didn't go to the 200 when MJ and Ross were sort of having their ding dong, but I think I did go to the 100 heats and maybe the 100 semis or something like that. So, to go 12 years later as a swimmer would mean the absolute world to me. And, for it to be so close to where I grew up, like it's only 20-minute drive from my house, and to a lot of the guys sort of on that team where especially from the West District, a lot of the competitions that we would have done when we were younger were at that pool. And maybe for someone like Katie's obviously trained there like our whole life, so it's even more special for someone like that. But I think everything I just said about under 23s, like doing it with your pals and people you're so close to, and doing it on a stage like that is a cool experience. But see if you take that and put it in Glasgow, like where you grew up, and all the people that have helped you along the way are able to come to
Of
that when
course.
maybe they wouldn't be able to come to in Australia. I think that just makes it even cooler than something like an under 23s. And for me, it would mean the absolute world. But we've got some work to do until then. Still plenty of time. There's a few competitions to go until that. But yeah, it'd be an absolute dream, and I'm really looking forward to the whole process.
It's not obviously not a given that you'd be on the team and lots of hard work to do. Like, what are your kind of hopes then for this season? Is it a case of getting yourself on this team and just seeing what happens? I guess what if that was to happen?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think going this season just the same mentality. I think, like I said, if you keep making little drops to your PB and getting down there, I think I'm certainly in a position where the time's sort of working in my favour. I think if I do what I've always done, perform at the meet and get small PBs, then sort of it's mine to lose, if you know what I mean. I think I'll be in a pretty good position, but um, yeah, I think it's really exciting, and it's sort of maybe different from under 23s because this is obviously in the pipeline. I wasn't really thinking about under 23s when I was at trials that year, but this will be a different experience for me that clearly a lot of the people there are trying to make that team, and it's something that you know I feel has been a goal for me for a little while. Like this has been one that I have been thinking about for a little while, and like I said, it would mean the world. But something I'm excited for the whole process, and you know we'll absolutely see what happens.
No, it's definitely exciting, and I guess there's going to be so many swimmers that are in your position as well that want to get themselves on that team at whatever cost. And even people that are maybe slightly out the not the conversation, but I've got a bit of time to drop and things like that. It's still possible, and that's the exciting thing about a trials competition where it's all about time. It's all about getting your hand on the wall under that time, and it certainly sets the season up nicely, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, it does, 100%, 100%.
And obviously, like we say, a bit of time to go until April's trials. What's that going to look like for you in terms of preparation and competition and stuff? I know we were talking off air there about the fact you've got a job as well. you've obviously got a career, so what's that going to be like balancing the two, and what are the challenges with that? But do you feel like it will help you in a way as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of more evidence that my journey's been a wee bit different from other
Yeah,
people.
of
But
course.
I started part-time employment here about February, and then sort of developed some freelance clients along the way. So that was sort of right in the middle of season. I sort of took that on. And don't get me wrong, it's September to December last year, just after I graduated, I was sort of just it was just purely swimming, and I don't feel that's something that really worked for me that well. I quite like having a little bit of a distraction when I'm away from the pool. Don't get me wrong, I've definitely got like 6 or 7 distractions right now, but they were you know, I like a busy schedule, and I think it makes it really easy to schedule my time and know what I've got on each day. And yeah, I think competitions wise, I think it's just the general short course in December, probably McCullough or another long course meet around the February time, and then it'll go into trials. So there's not actually that much time sort of left until trials. I think about 5 months from when we're having this conversation. But yeah, I think this schedule, I've got really lucky to work with people who sort of make time for my swimming and understand how important it is to me. And I think that's allowed for me to sort of achieve a schedule which works really well for me, sort of in between sessions, and whether it be maybe altering my training a little bit to maybe get in a little bit earlier, whatever it may be. Everyone, whether it be one work or Ben and Brad, have been super supportive. And no, I can't thank everyone enough for that. But it's yeah, it's really exciting.
I know it's interesting because I know some people they do like having that busy schedule, and it almost gives a bit of clarity to your swimming, and it makes it feel like something you really want to do, and it's not your
Absolutely.
not your job, right? It's not your main job, so it's interesting, and actually I guess it gives you a different perspective on things, like you say, that you've had maybe throughout your whole career as well.
No, definitely, definitely. I think it was. I mean, a lot of the people at high performance. I mean, all of the people at high performance programs in Scotland are sort of balancing it with uni, and you know, that's just something you've got to do. And I think everyone's learned to do it so well. And sort of when I finished university last year, it was something I had to. It was not really something I enjoyed doing, just having swimming, and sort of struggling to find the words of what to say, but just solely being focused on that, if that makes sense, and sort of, not having any lectures or seminars or much admin at all to do. That was sort of strange having that. And yeah, like, just to repeat myself, I think I've been really lucky to find something that sort of helps me live and sort of pays my bills and has been really welcomed by the people on each side.
Fantastic. Well, fingers crossed, and hopefully everything keeps going positive for you, Rory.
Fingers
And
crossed.
yeah, fingers crossed, and best of luck for the rest of the season as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Charlie.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and thanks as ever to our guest Rory for popping on. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or leave us a like and a comment on YouTube. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.